What's up everyone, my name is Mur and today we are going to talk about how to create an animated emote using Photoshop. I'm going to walk through from having a static emote all the way into having the finished product, but I find that it is very difficult to find information out there on how to do this the proper way and some of the resources that are available to you to be able to make this successful and easy. So I'm going to go through and talk about those today as well, but I definitely have learned a lot from other videos out there, and I kind of wanted to make a condensed one about what I learned for what I needed to be able to go from having static emotes to being able to make animated emotes as a digital artist. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first things first, we're going to need to go into the layers here. This is just a static image. No layers, this is basically just flattened. So you can go ahead and you can start here, different cutouts, and I would recommend using the object selection tool if you have the newer version of Photoshop, and you're gonna basically want to select the pieces that you want to have separated that are gonna have their own separate kind of motion. Now for this, I've already obviously done this, so I'll kind of skip through this and just do the kind of quick guide here. Please select the pixels that you want to do this. This is going to be like my background here. So it's going to have this blue segment here. So this actually looks good as it is. And I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to hit control, and I did control X to do cut, and then control shift V to paste it back into the exact same place. Notice that if you actually just hit control V, it'll center it. You do not want that. So control shift V, it'll paste it right back where it cut out from. Now, essentially with this, obviously I only have this image right here. The goal from this point forward is going to be actually having to fill it in with the color that you want. Now, the other part of this is that with this specifically, I do want to cut this arm out. And the reason I want to do that is because of the way that it is angled. It'll be easier later on. So I'm going to go ahead here and just cut this out as well. Again, control shift V, paste it back in place. Now I have this like weird heart layer piece here, and then I have the arm, right? Now, obviously I need the heart separated, and now it's cut off, and I'm going to actually just create a copy from my original again here underneath it all. I'm going to merge it. Now that I have this piece back on top again, I'm going to actually go through and select the heart this time, just like that. Yep, perfect. Now, we have those three layers, and now what is remaining here is we just have the head that we need to cut out here and just delete it. So now we have a head, the body, and then the heart, and then the right arm. Now, one thing that we still need to do is basically select this hand with, again, the object selection tool. There's my right hand, or left hand. So I'm gonna just do left arm. And again, I did not hit control shift V when I did that, but now it's back in place. Okay. And so, yeah, we're good to go. What you want to do is go through each of these and clean them up. So this is going to be probably the most time consuming part of this, because you're basically going to have to redraw certain parts of it and kind of go back in. And for the sake of this, again, I'm just going to make this super quick, but you can spend a little bit of time on this. I definitely recommend using multiple layers, like one underneath it, because obviously I'm going to have to go down here, and then I'm going to have to pick this shadow right here through. You're going to notice as you're doing this, there's like lines here, right? So you're going to have to go, I usually make a layer above it, and I will take the color, make it a softer brush just in case it goes outside, and I will go through here, Control Z, fix this, there we go, that. You're gonna notice it's not gonna be perfect right here, but that's okay because we can fix it after the fact. All right, I'm gonna make it harder again. I'm holding Alt right click and dragging down for the hardness of my brush. That's kind of like a quick way of doing that. That's just my method of doing it. Now for this, obviously my smoothing is at 0. I want to change my smoothing up to 100% to make the lines as smooth as possible. I am also using a mouse for this, so it's not the preferred way. I'd rather use my drawing tablet to be able to do it, but not everybody has one. So we're going to go ahead and do this. All right, cool. So this is just kind of like a soft version, but now I have a full head again, and now I find things I want to fix, and I'm going to do this. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible. Okay. Don't get too crazy into the details. It's going to be really small when it happens. So now I'm going to merge these layers together. So with the body, we're going to basically have to draw this like, all right, let's see. We got, you know, honestly, what I could do just to simplify. So I'm just going to take this piece of it, go all the way around, and we're just going to pick color. I'm going to go to B, which is my brush, hold Alt to give my color picker, grab this, and I'm going to hold Alt and backspace to give it that blue, those blue vibes. Now I'm going to basically correct it from here. Okay, and we're doing this. Now, if you guys want to skip ahead to the part where we just continue after, we can do that as well. I'm probably not going to go through all of this, just a few of them, just to kind of give some at least understanding of what you're doing here. But essentially, I'm just trying to give myself some color in the background in the event that the animation that's moving basically moves out of the frame where you can't see the image on top. You're going to need to see something behind it, which will be, it'll be this. So now you've got like your completed pieces, right? So you have all of the pieces that are gonna move. You've got them all kind of ready to go. And if you want to, you can even draw the heart a little bit more, which I believe I did in the original. Nope, did not do it. That'd probably be a part that I probably should have done on the first one, but it wasn't necessary because most of my animation was it dragging up and then coming back. But you can still do it just in case if you want to. But other than that, you're ready to start animating. And how you get the timeline to open up is you go to your windows, you go to timeline, it opens up this box down here, and essentially this is the amount of frames that you're going to be working with. I believe this is set at 30 frames per second. I think you can manually change that if you need to by going into this little box right here, going to set timeline frame rate. You're going to see mine is actually set to 30 FPS. Want to be very careful with going to 60 frames because you're going to be capping it right under that. So I like to go right underneath it. At the 2 frame, this 2 part, this is actually set for 60 frames. So I'm actually down here to the 20 frame mark, just to be a little bit cautious of that. I think it ended up being like 51. And now what I'm going to do is set keyframes. Now, first, the most important thing in doing so is you'll notice this icon over this compared to this. This is a raster layer. This is a smart object. So when I bring these up here, these parts, if I right click on these, it'll let me rasterize it. When it's rasterized and I right click it, it will let me convert it to a smart object. You need to convert these to a smart object. It's okay if you need to go make changes. You can always re-rasterize it and go back over it if you need to. But for the sake of doing the animation, there's a very important distinguished difference here. And that is when you are looking at a rasterized layer, it will only give you position. So you can only change the position that it is. You cannot transform it, which is what we need. And by you putting it into a smart object, it allows you to be able to transform it while it's keeping the pixels that you've created in the same section. You're going to want to put them on your timeline. And then this is the end of your timeline. So I usually set this for the 20 frame mark on the second part. So this is basically 50 frames. And then I'm going to have a start, a mid, and an ending point. So it'll be start at 0, mid at 25, ending at 50. And then it's going to loop. So it'll look a little bit like this. You'll have all your layers, even the ones not showing, and that's okay. Perfect. So there's the head, body, heart, right arm, left left. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select all the keyframes that I've done. I'm going to delete them and we're going to start from scratch. Okay. So this is the standard way it's going to start. Okay. You want to make sure it's positioned where you want it to start. And the reason being is once I hit transform, it is going to capture where the location is and what it looks like. And then I'm going to go to the end here and I'm going to hit transform again. Now, obviously I can't see it right here. So if you want to, you can always transform it right here. And then when you're finished, just make sure you remember to move it back over. What you're going to do is you're going to want the animation to start and stop in the exact same location. And then I'm going to add another transform mark here. The middle section where this line is right here is where all of the animation's taking place for this type of animation. So if I wanted to do this, I'm going to hit OK. What's going to happen is it's going to go in and then it's going to come back out. And then it's just looking like it's breathing in that natural motion. We're going to not do that because that looks terrible. And we're going to basically make our first animation. You're going to do it piece by piece. And so this is where it started kind of clicking for me. So I'm hoping the same for you. Now I can hold control and then left click and drag to kind of give it that distort type of transform, which is really helpful. And then I can just drag it without anything and it will perfectly do it without making any changes. Or I can hold shift and go one way, shift to do whatever I want, basically. And I can also, let's say, I don't think there's really any other. Oh yeah, I guess this one is control and shift and allows you to distort it while keeping the others in the exact same location. This can be really good for just angles and trying to understand what you want it to look like. For the sake of this one, I want it to kind of, as the heart is beating out, I'm wanting everything else to kind of surround it. I'm actually going to stop there and I'm going to start with the heart actually. And the reason being is because the heart is kind of, I guess, the big piece in all of this. We're going to want the heart to expand. So I'm going to have it shift a little bit and then kind of go up like this. All right. So now what's going to happen is the heart is going to go like this. And I'm going to actually shift it down like that a little bit. It's almost like it's kind of got this like rotation movement with it too. Okay. And we're going to do the body next, mainly because I did not do this the first time and wish I did. Add the 3 marks here so that it all looks the same. You want to do this first. And then you're going to want to go to the center here. And now we're going to be Control T to hit transform on the section. And let's say for this one, barely can see any of it, so it's kind of nice actually. You're going to see them kind of go together. And it's taking a little bit of time to render, but they're kind of going together a little bit. And the sleeve being a little slower than the heart just adds some depth, adds some shift to it. And then we're going to do the head with it. You can actually change the location of it too, so just a heads up on that. Here we go. It's kind of like this. Go. Yeah, that's looking a lot better right there. And then the right arm, obviously that thing's looking a little funky out there. So we're going to go ahead and shift that. And then we're going to go back to the hand and shift that. Now this one was like the hardest one because obviously the blue piece, you kind of have to mask a little bit. And you can't really mask at this stage. So I'm going to go ahead here and do that. There we go. All right, let's see what happens here. You're going to notice that the arm looks a little funky as it's doing that. So I'm actually going to add a keyframe right here. Just one more time here. And I don't even think you're going to really notice it because as you kind of come back out here, yeah, you're not even going to notice it. So that's looking better. And I think it's safe. So that's the other thing too, is like you kind of got to have this trade-off decision of like what you're willing to keep. But I think it looks okay. I think it's just as it comes back, we're going to have to do the same thing. I'm going to add a keyframe here. I'm going to copy this one and paste it here. And we're going to slide it to where it looks right on par because it's going to basically do the reverse of what it did getting there. So now as it's going in, it looks a lot better. And then as it's going out, it looks a lot better. Hardly noticeable, which is good when it comes to animation. Now, the one thing I'll just say I'm not happy with at this stage is just the head and the movement that it's doing. So I'm actually going to go in here and we're going to blow it up a little bit. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I like that. That's looking a lot better. So there it is. You have basically your animation. Left hand, I think, is the one we didn't do. I'll go ahead and actually kind of want to make it angled a little bit. Like, obviously it's getting a little bit bigger, but maybe some of it's kind of fading. Now I'm actually going to go ahead here and twist it a little bit too and move it like right here. I kind of like that actually being still somewhat on there. So you can kind of see the hand get, like the line get a little bit bigger to kind of show it's coming closer. There we go. All right, it looks good. So now we're ready to export. Instead of saving for web and exporting it as a GIF through Photoshop, I noticed there was like a white line around the GIFs when I would do it this way. But what you actually want to do instead is you want to export and go to render video. And this is the tip I'd have to give a huge applaud to Shy Fox for, because I did not know this. I've never actually seen this before. So it's really awesome to see this and how much it instantly made it easier. So you're going to go ahead and change the format to PNG. You're going to select the work area, which you'll see is 50 frames. I don't know if you need to mess with the alpha channel. I changed it to straight unmatted. It was at none originally, but I would try it both ways. And what's essentially going to happen here is it's whatever folder you have selected for it, it is going to create basically a digital flipbook. So as it's rendering, what's happening here is it is creating all of these little digital files, and of every frame, it is creating a new picture. And so that is what this is doing right here for you. And the benefit of this is that there's a website that you can go to. Again, shout out to Shy Fox for this one as well, called like easygifmaker.com. I'm sure that's pretty familiar to a lot of people who are used to doing this stuff. You can only have 60 frames for Twitch. So I'm going to go to this website, easygif.com/maker, and then we're going to go and we're going to upload this file, flip test, and I'm going to click that one and then shift click the very bottom one, hit open, then upload and make a GIF. And this makes things so much easier for a lot of different reasons too. I'm used to always having to export all my files every single time it has to render the file. This actually can solve for that a little bit. So for this, there's a delay of 20 on standard. I do not know the purpose of this, but I'm just going to change it to 6 because that's what Shy Fox said. And then don't stack frames. I'm going to select and then make a GIF. This is a 500 by 500. This is going to be too big, and that's okay. And then the nice thing is I can resize it here. Now, before I do that though, the really wonderful thing about this is, let's say that you want to speed this up. Like you don't like how slow it is. You can actually sit here and play around with speed and hit change speed, and it'll give you a comparison, which I love. So like if you like the 150% speed, you can do that. You can change 500% the speed. Now he's so fast. Yeah, that looks super decent. I like that a lot. So let's say that we want to go with this one, okay? I'm going to go ahead and resave this. All right, now let's say I want to resize it here with 112 by 112. It's 22%. I'm going to use GIFsicle and center and crop fit. And it's going to look like that. It looks beautiful. Save that one. Basically come back up here, 56 by 56, and you can all do it from all this one page, which is amazing. This is my favorite part about the whole dang thing right here. It speeds up the time frame rather than have to render it out every single time. And then go back here, and we are good to go. Resize and save. Move it over. Go into Twitch, and you're gonna go to your viewer rewards, emotes, your animated, and you're going to go to the 112 file, and you're going to try it out. And so there it is, looking beautiful. I actually like this one a lot more than my current one, only because I made it like more accentuated. So let's say I wanted to do that, and you're gonna notice the difference between the two of them. This one's very subtle, this one's like out there, and I dig the out there piece because with the animation, it's gonna be so small, you want it to move like that. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and remove the original one. We're just gonna stick with it. And then there you go. You basically have your animated emote from start to finish. I hope that this was helpful for you. I definitely want to give credit where credit's due. Definitely want to make sure that I am letting you guys know exactly what helped me be a better digital artist and emote artist for others, so that you can take on more clients, do more for them, maybe make a little bit more money because that's how you want to do it. Whatever the reason is, I hope this was helpful for you. And yeah, like, subscribe if you like this content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day, guys.